Hello! Big news from our friends over at DistroKid. They now have an app. This app works on iOS and Android, of course, and it's available in the Apple Store and Google Play stores and all the stores where you buy apps. Go check it out. It's got a lot of cool features. You can upload new releases, you can get notified when you've earned royalties. Awesome. You can withdraw from the app via push notifications. A little dangerous for me, but rad. Anyways, go check it out. It's all at distrokid.com/app. And don't forget, you can still get 30% off your DistroKid account by going to distrokid.com/VIP/tour stories. Have a great one. We would like to celebrate our friends and supporters over at isotope.com. Fine makers of audio software for repair, mixing, and mastering. You know their goods: RX10, Neutron 4, Ozone 11, Nectar 4. Chris and I love them, we use them, and we know you'll love them too. And right now they're having a New Year's sale on many of their software bundles. Go to isotope.com and check it all out. And use code RUIN10 when you check out to get your discount. Again, it's izotope.com. And enjoy. Hello, Tour Story listeners. Thank you for your continued support, and welcome to Season 4. I'd like to take a second to thank our friends and sponsors over at Isotope. Here at Ruinous, Chris and I rely heavily on easy-to-use tools like RX and Ozone for all of our audio repair, mixing, and mastering. Now, Tour Story listeners can get 10% off Isotope plugins or try Music Production Suite Pro for free for 30 days using code FRET10. That's FRET10. To get your discount and check out all of their easy-to-use products, go to isotope.com/ruinous. That's izotope.com/ruinous and use code FRET10. And thank you for listening. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Joe.
How you doing, man?
I'm very good. I'm good. It's really nice to be speaking to you. It's been too long.
I know. We've been texting. We text every quarter, around the holidays, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad we're doing it. We can people can be listening into our conversations about God knows what good old days.
God.
How our backs are keeping up. Whether you found your bag,
Right.
It's got to be interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
Is your
Shoes. We can always talk about shoes.
Always a pertinent point. Always I'm putting out. I'm putting out a shoe with that company Yogi.
You are,
year.
yeah. That was one thing we texted about in the last 6 months.
Yeah, pull me in straight away. Get on shoes. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're a cool company, and they're nice, kind of casual sort of thing. And yeah, I mean they look great. And as I say, they're a cool company. I'll hook you up.
I like those shoes. I was checking them out recently again. Where are you?
I'm in my house in Manchester. Well, just outside of Manchester in Cheshire in England on actually what's been an absolutely beautiful golden autumnal Manchester day. It's been pretty nice. So it's good, I'm doing this thing now. I'm doing promo, and it's nice to have the record finished. It's a funny one with the record because it's a double album. There's 16 tracks on it, and it's called Fever Dreams Parts 1 to 4. And the weird thing is the title came before the concept, if you like. I liked Fever Dreams, but Fever Dreams Parts 1 to 4 came at the same time. That was what I heard in my head when I got the title. And then I thought, well, what's this Parts 1 to 4 about? And then it gave me like an opportunity then to think in a different way, because I thought, well, yes, I'll just call the album Fever Dreams, but no, I had to have this Parts 1 to 4. I was like, well, what's this about? So therefore, I'm releasing it in 4 parts. The 4th part completes the album, and it's funny how art works, because I kind of got it ass backwards, really, and it was good because then in the writing process, I actually had 4 whiteboards in the studio, and I'd have a bunch of songs, kind of some half finished, some just starting out, and then because I had to make sense of this 4-part thing, I would shuffle them around and go, "Oh, okay, I better finish this one, and I better finish this one because they will go really well on part one." And then, so you get the idea. I was shuffling things around to make sense of the format. So it was a good kind of artistic premise, really. A bit of lateral thinking, as I say. So it's coming out in sections anyway. So uh, I'm doing promotion, but the entire record isn't actually available yet. But there are 6 songs available right now. It's cool.
Right. And when will we hear it all? Do you know?
Good question. End of February, start of March. What are you up to?
I do a little podcasting, recording piles and piles of drums.
You, yeah, you're always recording piles and piles of drums. Always, all
Yeah,
the.
if you need
ju-
anything, just ask me. I'll send it
Well,
right over.
is I take it now that your whole house isn't basically a drum set, which it was at one time. And let me explain for your listeners what that actually meant. Was that when you walked around the floor, or when you opened the fridge, even, or when you closed a door, it was all being recorded with shit tons of dub echo on it. So
That's right.
everything you did in the house just kind of sounded like this kind of the inside of King Tubby's brain.
That was my experiment with living with delay. And I
Ah,
think I
yeah, that was
did.
it.
I kept turning it on and off. I did it for a week straight to see if it would make me crazy. And not that Modest Mouse rehearsals didn't make me crazy, but
Yeah.
I needed to add something else to that.
You were
Yeah,
hoping it would straighten you out.
yeah, that was when I would just had my, and I had the feedback level, so it wouldn't be feeding back, and I would just, you'd set like a coffee cup down, and it would go.
That's no, exactly. Yeah, it was really ingenious for a whole week. That must have been nuts, man.
Ultimately, it probably wasn't healthy, but it was fun. It's probably good for my timing. Um, so when did you start working on this record? Was it over the last year and a half, 2 years?
You know what, Joe? Weirdly enough, it was time to make a record anyway. So I was touring on the last record for a couple of years, and then get this, we did the last date, and then I went on holiday to Greece with my wife. I very rarely go on holiday. We went, and then the minute I hit the Sun Lounger, I literally started writing this record,
Mm,
like the first day of the holiday. But what happened was I started writing. Okay, so that would have been October of 2019, and I was on that holiday. I was getting my ideas together and I was enjoying that, and a couple of things were coming to me and all of this stuff. But then Hans Zimmer called me when I got back from that vacation. So this would have been New Year of 2019 going into 2020, to ask me to work on the Bond movie with him. So I was like, well, yeah, sure. And so I stopped writing my own stuff and then went to work on the Bond movie in Soho in London. So Soho's it's a very cool part of town, really. It's got such a history, and it's where all the jazz scene was and the folk scene. It's like the East Village, really, of London, and it's been like that way since, really, I guess, since certainly since the 40s, and kind of real artist kind of enclave, and it's still kind of funky. So I was down there working on the movie, and as you'll know, it's very stop-start film stuff, and you're kind of on call and you're waiting around. So I'd be going for runs and walking around at night, and so I've started again then whilst that was going on to get ideas for my new album, this album. So the first EP from my record, the second song is called Receiver, and I'd forgotten that I'd come up with the main music for that, the riff particularly. It's built around this dramatic sort of guitar riff when I was working on the Bond movie.
yeah,
And but now I've said that if for anyone who cares to listen to that,
that
you
makes
can
sense to
tell.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until recently. So that kind of thing was going on, and yeah, so it was kind of useful, really. So anyway, to answer your question, I was started thinking about the record end of 2019. I worked on the movie, and then the movie was supposed just when it was supposed to come out, the pandemic hit. So that would have been like April, May in 2020. So the movie just obviously that was a no-no, and I would have been doing my own record anyway. So when people ask me about whether it drove me crazy in the pandemic because all musicians want to go out and play, and I will say, particularly your brethren, drummers,
Hmm.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't really drive me crazy for that reason because it was time for me to make a record anyway. And in
Right.
fact, what happened because of the pandemic, I kind of went back to being a real studio rat, like I used to be maybe 20, 15 years ago. Well, right before Modest Mouse, where I was like just, you know, all over all the technology and with the solo stuff, right from the very first session of the first solo record, I realized everyone was so used to around me, my band and my engineer, everyone was so used to saying things like, okay, start the session. What microphones are we going to put on the overhead mics? What microphone are we putting on the kick drum? Because
Hmm.
I'd done that for years.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I had this music stand and I was trying to hide the fact that I hadn't written all the lyrics for most of the songs, uh, like a true front man. So I realized at that moment, it was talking 2011 now, I was like, shit, I can't really do a good job of being a singer and a front man as I want to be for this band and pull the right microphones out the drawer and put
Yeah.
them over the kit. I don't really know of many front men that I like that do that. So I had to kind of retreat from the studio right there. I mean, I still, and I've always, on all the records, spend 12, 14 hours in the studio, and I'm the producer or
Yeah.
co-producer with my pal Doviak. But I had to learn to let go of some of the technology sort of aspects of it, and plugins and all of that, in order to do the really, really important stuff.
Write some
I
fucking
know
lyrics, man.
that thing. Because as you know, Joe,
You're standing outside waiting for your singer to write his fucking lyrics.
ex- exactly. So
And
I
you're
thought, well,
killing all the smokers because they're smoking more and more waiting for you to write your lyric. So,
yeah. So as a band guy, we know that
yeah.
we're all hot to trot, and that when the words are done and the melodies are done, then you
Yeah.
can really get to work and do what we all do. So on this record, because I guess because of the pandemic and because my studio, it's on the top floor of an old factory. I mean, this factory was built in 1880 something, part of the Northern Industrial Revolution, and it's in the same condition it was from the day it was built, you know. So
Hmm.
incredible old thing, and I'm on the top floor of that. And so when lockdown happened, I just snuck in there. I ignored the lockdown because I was in this building on my own entirely
Sure.
every day
Yeah.
during the daytime, the entire factory on my own. So I was going in there and I was able to go back to being a studio rat. I was messing with the equipment, getting
Right.
into all the technology and all of that, plus doing the words and everything. And then when the kind of the danger or whatever subsided somewhat, me and Doviak, who is my co-producer, he started coming in and we developed it like that. So that was the way the pandemic went for me, really.
Yeah.
I went into it on a personal level, thinking if none of my loved ones, friends, family, become very sick or worse, God forbid, if I don't experience any of that when all of this is over, I'll feel really lucky, but
Yeah.
very, very lucky. And touch wood, that's happened. I mean, we've all heard these kind of stories 2 or 3 steps removed, and some people have had terrible times. So I'm in that place where I feel very grateful that my friends and family have no one's been too affected too badly, and there's been no fatalities. But other than that, I was going to make a record anyway, so
Yeah.
I ended up with this double album, and it's all done. The timing was kind of interesting, but I have been really itching to play.
Yeah. People I've been talking to have pretty strong opinions on or strong experiences on how the pandemic made them feel. Either ultimate anxiety or, nah, that's cool. I was mellow. Took some time
Yeah.
off. And for me, it was largely anxiety. It sounds like yours is kind of in the middle, just work as usual. It just,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting question, really, Joe, because as a lyricist, as I say, I would have made a record anyway, and I
yeah,
would have had some considerations going in to make a record. I don't, at the moment anyway, wait until I've got a thing to say to make a record. I've been doing this so long now, and also, funny enough, talking to you, my role in almost every band that I've been in was towards the end of a cycle or campaign. They're both words I don't really care for, but
hmm,
that you've been on the road for a couple of years, or in our case with Modest Mouse, like 3.5, 4 years or whatever, and I start getting this itch, and it's a little bit like the way I've described it is my role is like I climb up onto into the crow's nest on the ship, and I climb there and I stand up on the end, and I'm the one who goes first one to go, album ahoy, new album ahoy, I see there in the distance, let me deliver some riffs. And it must be really quite annoying actually to some band members. Um, my mind, I'm thinking about Gary Jarman from the
Sure.
Cribs and Ryan, and because back then, those and Isaac may be the poor lyricist that kind of going, listen, I've just kind of dredged my entire soul and my inner world only what seems like yesterday, and this fucker is going, hey, I've got 7 riffs. This one, I'm sure this one's a hit. Come on. And in some ways, it probably be a good thing in a group, but that's what I do anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so it was time to make a record, as I said, and because that's my way around with the process, I do that first. I then sit in place and I go, okay, where am I? Where am I at? I've got to make a record. It's more difficult actually than just waiting until you've got a load of ideas. But I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, there's all these blank sheets of paper, there's all this blank hard drive, and sometimes a blank brain, and like, okay, what is it you're going to say? And to get back to your question or your point, going into it anyway, I was like, I couldn't ignore the fact that I thought that I should maybe try and connect with people on this record. And that might sound a little obvious, but thus I think on my other 3 solo records that generally I try and do everything except look inside. I try and sing about buildings, I sing about advertising campaigns, I sing about society, I think, like, I look at books about the situation, is anything except express my own inner feelings. That isn't because I'm shy, it's because I just got sick of everybody doing that. And I was thinking, man, when I started doing the solo records, I was like,
Yeah.
Susie Sue wasn't spilling her goddamn guts the first thing in the morning, and
Sure. Yeah.
there just seemed to be a lot of people who were doing it better than me, and I thought, why does, the songs have to be about, your every inner kind of your neurosis, basically.
Hmm.
So I kind of stuck with that idea, but not surprisingly, some songs, when you come up with a tune that is emotional or quite pretty or has got an emotive quality, you have to honor that by putting a lyric with it that is meaningful.
Hmm.
And that's happened on a few of my records where I've kind of gone, you know what? I really have to deliver something that is it's got some sincerity in this and isn't some art rock cleverness. And not surprisingly, they're the songs that people most connect with. And going into the record, because really my audience are firmly in my mind. I like them, and
Yeah.
I've now learned, built over the 9 years of solo records and playing all the shows, that I want them to connect and I want them to be pleased. I There was a voice inside me saying, you got to sing about person stuff. So with the pandemic, I didn't want to. I was very eager to not sing songs about lockdown or about wearing masks or about
Yeah. Yeah.
anti-vaxxers or any of that, or the shut stores being closed or anything too. I still wanted it to be poetic and have some mystery in there. So yeah, I was feeling right down the middle, but what's come out in the lyrics is a feeling of displacement and shared concern. So I wasn't particularly anxious, but I know from the words I've written and the songs I've written that, so there's a song on the very first EP is called All These Days, for example, and it starts off drinking with my shadow, escape the sensory, another day tomorrow, tomorrow endlessly. In these days, life is all perfect storms, so because I think there was a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people sitting in their houses, opening a bottle of wine, maybe opening 2 bottles of wine, worried about what was going to happen to their businesses, what was going to happen to their families, when the kids were going to go back to school, escaping the sensory, and the album's kind of littered with
Yeah.
those. Not too direct. I still try and keep it poetic, but when you asked me the question all of that time ago, I I guess the answer, I'm thinking that the record, I'm singing about perceptions, and there's definitely a sense of, I don't know what the word would be, disquiet,
Hmm.
um, you know, unease, confusion. I like these are all themes that I like anyway because it doesn't take a pandemic for me to have these feelings anyway.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted a yes or a no. I didn't need all that. But that's nice stuff. I like it. It's good. It's clever. Uh, the last thing, the one thing that it kind of relates, I don't want to dwell on the pandemic, but it also relates to our relationship and what has improved my life, which is over the pandemic, people got into exercise and stuff. You kept running, correct?
Yeah.
You'll never stop.
Yeah.
And I was kind of the secret runner until we were in a band together. I never felt shameful for being the exercise guy or anything, but it was nice to have a comrade on
Yeah.
that. Generally speaking, you kind of opened me up to rock and roll health. You know what I mean? And I just truly appreciate that because, I mean, I wasn't shooting heroin and having sex with everyone in sight, but I was, you know,
There's so
uh,
many jokes I could say right now, but go on, continue.
uh, but
Yeah.
you provided me with a little bit of a permission slip, if you will, to be healthy on tour, which I wanted to be, and it was always nice to do that. And I
Yeah. Well, no, thank you. Yeah.
I think about you because one of my good habits is I've increased my running quite a bit over the pandemic. Uh,
Well,
Maybe my
yeah.
drinking too, but I'm just wondering, did you get into any good or bad habits over the?
Good. Yeah, I got into some good ones, I think. I was always threatening to actually not be terrible at yoga. So far,
Me too. Me
yeah,
too.
just that was just my ambition. It still is my
Yeah.
ambition. Just
Yeah.
not be embarrassing. Um, so I got into that, and also kettlebells. I hate it, but
Yeah.
I've done the kettlebells thing. I think the thing you were talking about is it's about the rock and roll health thing was yeah, it is a rock and roll health thing because as you will know, so many people equate, less so these days, but equate health and exercise and running, say, okay, with kind of abstinence, puritanical,
Yeah.
everything that rock and roll is supposed to not be.
Yeah.
And really, what it all did for me getting into running, it gave me more attitude. A really basic way of putting it was, I used to drink, and I didn't ever have any drink and drugs hell. I had drink and drugs fun, drink and drugs
Yeah.
heaven. Drink,
Yeah.
it was great. It was great. But then I got to a certain point in my life, just before we met, Modest Mouse days, which I guess was 2005 when we met. And I'd been sort of getting it maybe 5 years before that. I used to drink before then, and then sometimes, I'd get kind of pretty wasted, and the work, the work I was doing, if you're wasted, is pretty shit. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been times when I was younger where certain drugs have been, I won't lie, have been useful, been
Right.
interesting. Some psychedelics and I mean, the Smiths were a really big pop band. I mean, we're kind of big everything band, really. But in terms of working and the work, coming from the background I come from, and it was the law to smoke hash till it came out of your ears, and every
Yeah.
band had to be like that.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's all cool when you're younger, but as we all know, it does stop working for everybody. It does stop working, and my drive towards running and sort of I don't even use the word clean. I just use the word energy was actually to do the same thing as that drugs used to do. It was to give me attitude and give me energy and make me a better musician. If anything, I think the word is progressive.
Yeah.
I thought that it was a
Yeah.
much more progressive attitude. And then also the other thing, when you get to like 40 or whatever, it's just a frigging cliche, man. Who wants to be that guy? Like turning up at your friend's show in the dressing room and you're, raiding the rider in the minibar. Like, who wants to be that guy? We all know them, and I didn't want to be that. And I guess subconsciously, I kind of there was probably a survival instinct going on in the back of my mind. I don't mean to be dramatic, but not like, hey, I was going to die or, like lose my family. My family were going to leave me or my dog wouldn't talk to me or any of that
Yeah.
business. It was just about, you know, if I continue on this path, I'm just going to be crap. And And then once I got into it, it was great. And like most things in my life, I took it on. I'm like real boom or bust. I'm a
Hmm.
kind of a I'm a good advert for this kind of stuff, not because I'm virtuous, but because I'm so enthusiastic about it, you
Yeah.
know. And so we hey, I know I talked about it in my book, which I think you come out of very well, Joe.
Thank
But
you.
and
Thank you and thank you.
all true. But I talk about I got up to running on that tour we did when we were opening for REM. I was running 15, 16, sometimes 18 miles before the
I
18
know.
miles before the show.
And I almost wanted to have an intervention with you on that. Because I remember going like, fucking, and it's not like nothing suffered, but it was always like, fucking Christ. Is this guy going to be able to play the show? But of course, you played two shows, then you play with REM too.
Yeah. I would walk out on stage vibrating. I remember
Yeah,
sometimes I would go out. Now remember as well, this to a certain degree, I felt like it's not I don't know whether interloper is right, but I walked out in front of Modest Mouse's audience for sometimes feeling like, hey, I'm the stranger. Yeah, I didn't walk out there like I'm the big shot. I was like, I'm the new guy. You may have heard of me, but the band were already established and God, I could talk about this all day. I loved it, but it was really really good for me. I'd walk out there and yeah, it was kind of good for your attitude to think I can outrun everybody in the audience twice.
that's right. That's
So it gives
right.
you a little bit, it gives you a kind of cocky thing. And I also, hey, and also I had endorphins were flying off me. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was, and I mean, if I kept up that level now, I mean, I'd like to, but I just don't have 3 hours to take out of the day because all those distances, of course,
Yeah, they take forever. It's crazy.
it's interesting talking to you about it because you were there. So I do this thing where I used to just feed my sort of obsession because I'm not by nature a jump out of bed and run 15 kilometers kind of guy, So we would be on a plane from Atlanta, and as always in your fine land, every flight is at least 5 hours. Everything is 5 hours, right? So you sit on that plane for 5 hours, and by the time we would get back to Portland, it would be dark, and we've been in the airport, we've been traveling for 7 hours, and you're feeling kind of a bit gross, and you want to just have a pizza from Hot Lips and
Yeah.
sit on the sofa and watch South Park back then, or whatever. That's kind of what life was about. But I knew enough about myself that I wanted to do that, but I would buy a running magazine in the airport, or I would have a podcast on my iPod, and a running podcast, and I would read these inspirational interviews, or I would read about the new Garmin watches, or be reading about these running jackets and going, that's a cool coat,
Yeah, yeah.
and doing so. By the time I got off the plane, you or the guys would be going, what I'd be like, right, I'm off for a run, and you guys would be like, really? We're going to go and, have a nightcap, and I'd be like, no, no, I'm going to go for a run, and I would go and run 12 miles because during that ride, I'd fed this obsession, and that was my MO all the time, doing everything I could to, being like the Forrest Gump with a Fender Jaguar, you know. Solo stuff, it's harder, you've got media to do and limousines to sit in and people to fire,
That's right.
tweeting to be done.
So you said you're itching to play some shows. I'm itching to see some of these shows. I'm sure the States will be after the UK and Europe. But have you done any version of shows in the last?
I have. We did four about a month ago, and oh man, it was fun. The actual show was great. Um,
Were they in Manchester?
One was in Manchester. It was a very big show with this band, the Cortinas.
Hmm.
That was like 50,000 people in
Oh my
a
God.
cricket ground, and it was fun. That was great. And then we did Leeds, London, and Blackburn, and then that was kind of it. And then we did this. We did a live stream from my studio space, which was interesting, because when the pandemic happened, there was a few offers from different companies to do these live stream things, and it didn't even get out of the gate for me because I was like, I don't see myself, me and my band playing the kind of music I do. on a stage in an empty venue with like lights, kind of pretending it's a real show. It'd be different if it was just like the way Nick Cave did it in this amazing atmospheric venue on his own at piano, doing what Nick does. So you're making a virtue of the solitude in a way. Or if I was just doing it myself with an acoustic. But I thought, well, okay, if we're going to do it, we'll do what we actually do at the moment, which is we are in this white. It's like a loft space, the studio in a way. You know, it's like a kind of classic. And we'll make a virtue of the fact that it's daytime. I want it to be really bright, and we'll play during the day, as I say, and it will be. Let's film a rehearsal. We'll play it in sequence, and we'll play it without stopping and talking and all the stuff that happens at rehearsals. And we'll do it like a performance.
Sure.
And it was interesting. You felt you really under scrutiny, you know, because of what it is. There's no hiding behind flashing lights or any of that, and you have to be good. But the band are great, and I'm very lucky like that. So yeah, I did that, and then so I guess live wise, it'll be when the album comes out proper, when the last part of this quartet thing comes out, parts 1 to 4, which will be, as I said, start of March, and then we're going to do some kind of quirky, unusual venues, just a handful, because then I'll go on tour with Blondie around the UK, which will be fun, around arenas with Blondie.
Wow, that'll be great.
Yeah. That's been cool because I had a bit of a thing going with Blondie over the last few years because I wrote a song for them on their last record, kind of purposely wrote it for Blondie, which was a really cool kind of process. And they asked me to do it again. So they're doing their new record now, and I hope this new song I've written for them makes it on the record.
Yeah.
They're always going to stay cool.
And that drummer, Mr. Burke. Woo!
Well, all drummers love Clem, quite rightly. I realised being in a band with you, I've forgotten that all drummers love Stuart Copeland.
Oh, yeah, we do. That's true.
It's because he plays a lot.
No.
Because he's got a lot to say.
He has a lot to say and a lot to say, and with his mouth and his drum. Well, hey, I want to play Spirit, Power, and Soul for the people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, please do. Lay it on me.
Let's hear it.
Yesterday is gone. Today I'm so on the run. Heartstrings tomorrow won't be for you and for me, 'cause we got soul, don't you know? Now put your faith up in the sky. I see the blues in my eyes. It's starting to dawn. What in the world's going on? I've seen some shimmering things, seen a vision of things. I'm so down, don't you know? I'm stealing energy. Some for you, some for me. The darkness comes, the night will fall. Lay awake too long. Dark has come, hope is gone. I seen some glimmering things. It's just a vision I'm in. When we all turn to gold, what make believe is in your eyes. That's when I realize the dawn has come. Your star will fall. On and on, we hear the call. Now, time has come. Spirit, power and soul. And I get the feeling. Spirit, power and soul. Time has come. Spirit, power and soul. And I get the feeling. Spirit, power and soul.
Nice number.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm pleased with it. Yeah, it's a good kind of. I don't know about comeback, but it's a good song to kind of kick off the campaign, I guess.
Yeah. And so you made that at, what is your studio called again? I don't know if you mentioned the name of it, or is there a name?
Yeah, there's a name. It's called the Crazy Face Factory.
Oh, okay.
Because when I was in the Smiths, our first manager, who was my pal, he's much older than me. He was very quickly became kind of like a father figure to me, really. Joe Moss, his clothing company was called Crazy Face, and because he lent the band, he lent the band a lot of things. He lent us money, and he lent us half his house to live in, and we used to rehearse on the top floor of his clothing company, and in this funky factory. And anyway, so it's called the Crazy Face Factory. And Joe died about 5 years ago, and the day after he died was the day I moved into the studio. So it was partly in tribute to Joe. Well, very much in tribute to Joe, and also kind of a little bit in tribute to where I started out, really, and just kind of a continuation of. I found myself rehearsing once again in a factory, at the top floor of a factory in Manchester. In fact, you saw the original Crazy Face Factory. I took you to see it on Portland Street in Manchester. I showed you all around.
Yeah.
I showed you. We went on that day, and
That's right. So we did talk a little bit about the sort of the kernel of these songs, but when you decided to go in the studio, and how did you do that? Did you mix demoing or tracking at your house, which a lot of people do now, not just because of a pandemic, and then bring the band in? What was the process?
so I make very comprehensive demos. They just turn out that way, and
Yeah.
it's almost a little like those. Well, that I want the band to hear them as impressive as they can be, and then they learn the songs, and I get the band in, and then I recut them again, because in doing so, things happen. Technical things happen, like the main one being that the keys of when I find that when I'm singing it with the band, sometimes the keys are either too low or too high, and it's a really useful thing. So I recut it. There's a thing you can change the keys and elastic time and all of that.
Sure.
I couldn't put a record out with all of that stuff going on, that kind of not for rock music or anyway. So I pretty much redo all my demos with the guys in the band. I play all the guitars and nearly mostly all the keyboards, but it's the same guys, Ewan Grunow on bass and Jack Mitchell on drums, and Doviak he plays second guitar when we go out live because obviously I can't cover everything and sing. But Doviak in the studio is the co-producer, and he's a total Pro Tools Jedi.
Mm,
He's amazing on Pro Tools because he's very, very smart and a very clever musician. So he approaches it like a very clever musician. Some
right.
people approach it like a technician or a computer guy. He does it half and half.
Yeah. Did you? I just noticed there's a couple sequencers, arpeggio, especially on that song. I just wonder if the demo came from that sequence on that song in particular.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of, I kind of conceptualized, if you like, that song, Spirit, Power, and Soul, before I wrote it. I
Hmm.
wanted to write a sequency song, and
Yeah.
where the track stops and it does that stuttery drum break.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of people in reviews and stuff have even though if they praised it, they've gone New Order, sounds like New Order, and I get that, but it's actually inspired that bit by Cabaret Voltaire,
Oh,
Sensoria.
right. Yeah.
And so I wanted to do I love industrial music. I love uh, original electro music, and what was going on in the UK, particularly in 1980, 81, 82, 83, with bands like Cabaret Voltaire and Clock DVA and the Human League, particularly. And it's not the first time I've done that. I did it with electronic, and obviously I played on a lot of Pet Shop Boys records, so that kind of thing happens. But so I do know how to program that stuff, and it's to get it right. It's quite painstaking, it had to be authentic. It had to sound like 1981, really, which is essentially people trying to sound like Kraftwerk.
Yeah. Right. That's a hook in itself, that whole sequence.
That's right.
The bass playing on that song and the bass that's in that sequence is really, I love it.
Well, thanks, Joe. I mean, it's all, but it's all in the sequence. There's no bass guitar in it.
There isn't. Okay. Okay.
But we did that deliberately there is a way of doing that you have to basically do three lots of sequences and make it all fit. You have to program the bottom end of it as a thing in itself. It's like three cogs going together, which I
Yeah.
enjoyed. But the secret, the trick, the authentic Kraftwerky thing, is to just program all of that stuff 5 or 6 BPM slower, then speed it up.
Ah.
If it's going too fast, it's just too easy to hit arpeggiator on a sequence. So I wanted to do it in step time and write every kind of thing. So that's something I learned from working with Bernard from New Order. I'll say
Mm.
that because one of the things is that when people try to do what he does, they take out the real main ingredient, and that is patience.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. My main criteria about whether something is working or not is whether I'm buzzing off it. When I want to play it in the car,
Yeah.
voluntarily, whether I'm like, okay, I'm going to the store or I'm driving back from the studio and I've been working on it for 12 hours or whatever, 10 hours, whatever. Um, I should really want to be playing it, whether it's a lyric or a vocal
Sure.
melody or a beat, and if I'm not, I'm always a little like, oh, okay. I was always like that from being a kid, really. I'd just erase stuff that I wasn't buzzing off.
Have you been listening to any music that is new to you that you can't stop listening to?
There's a band I actually think you would really like from the UK called Wooze, Wooze.
Okay.
And on a lot of their songs, the drummer is the singer.
Mm.
The front man, they're a three-piece, and they play kind of quite hyper synchronized riffs, and they have good tunes too. And
Yeah.
there's a bit of Devo in there,
Okay.
kind of like sped up Franz Ferdinand, if you like. It's pretty synchronized. I think you really dig it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll check it out. Woos.
Woos, and then also Fontaine's DC from Dublin. The wellspring, if you like, of what they're about, the impulse came from them wanting to write a volume about poetry. It wasn't like they got together and plugged in a bunch of
Oh,
instruments.
really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, they came together to write a critique of poetry, and so the words are really good, and they have some cool riffs and stuff. So they're doing really well, and that makes me feel good that something like that is appreciated.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go here in a second. But first, what are you looking forward to in the next year? What are you most looking forward to?
I'm quite looking forward to trekking around America because I really genuinely do miss it. I haven't gone to the States since I was a kid, since 1983. You know, that was when the Smiths first went there, and this has been probably the longest period of time I've been. It's been a couple of years since I've been there, which is weird for me.
Yeah.
Got so many friends there, and yeah, hey, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but I know it's not perfect, your country, in the same way as ours, in pretty much exactly the same way as ours.
Yeah.
In fact, yours has improved somewhat recently in the ways that ours hasn't. You know, we still have a real dick running the place. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've already mentioned it. We're going on the road with the Killers for 7 weeks, doing a stadium tour.
Oh,
And
right.
so we're playing places I haven't played for years, like Cincinnati and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that they're going to let me ride on their plane.
You better
So
ride on their plane.
Too right, man. Too right. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to play a set of all their songs before they come on.
That's right.
And of course, the record coming out, because it's been, you know what I'm like, it's been my life. And therefore, you know, everyone around me has had to put up with that for 18 months, the family. And so getting the thing out, and
So the family's looking forward to you maybe leaving.
yeah, that
Hey, Dad, I got you a plane ticket. It's kind of open-ended.
is it that time already? Oh, okay. Your bags are at the door. Isn't it about time that you went and saw some great galleries in New York?
Well, maybe I can, hopefully I'll run into you somewhere in the States and we can go buy some clothes and look at art, or buy some art and look at clothes.
Always the way.
All right. Well, hey, it's been good to talk to you.
Good to catch up
Great
again,
talk
man.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see you when you come out. Come over.
Okay.
I'll make you some coffee. You can pet my dog.
All sounds good, man.
Yeah. All right. Hello to the family, etc.
Really nice to see you, Joe. Adios.
See you soon. Travel safe.
All right, Joe. Thanks.
Hey there. Don't leave. After this song, Johnny's going to tell us about his first week in Modest Mouse. It's really fun. Thanks for listening.
me playing with all these different bands and all this stuff in my career and stuff. I said, now I get patted on the back for it. But in 1987, when Smith split, it was like I was getting all this shit for it. I had to defend it for years, 10 odd years. But I said, well, but the point I was making was I said, look, at 14, 15, there would be kids in Manchester, maybe 10, 15 miles away, who had a little band who had a bit of a reputation, for being kind of good. And a couple of times it would happen that a pal of mine in school said, hey, listen, they want you to come and practice with them.
Yeah.
Or so-and-so's got it. And that did happen a couple of times. And I would sneak on the train with no money or lug my amp across town and go in a room of 3 strangers. And they were kind of like, okay, show us what you got. And I did that because I thought, this is going to be interesting. I thought, I don't know what this is. And I'll probably be better if I try, even if I just do just a couple of rehearsals with them. And I said, so in 2005, I did the grown-up version of that with Modest Mouse. I walked into a room full of strangers, and then bit by bit, these people were being added. And then about a week into this thing, I'm standing there playing. It's winter in Portland in this attic, and I'm playing, and one drummer is playing this kind of angular kind of art rock sort of Gang of Four. Yes, I mean you, Joe.
Yeah.
It's kind of art rock kind of Gang of Four thing with this quirky fella next to him who's playing this sort of African rave. You don't know whether it's rave or jungle. So you got those two elements going. And then the bass player is playing. The bass line he has at that moment is literally, he's been playing it on a penny whistle or a flute, and also on an accordion, and it's just the tune he has. No one's told him that. He just goes, well, this is the tune I've got, and now I'm going to do it on a bass. and it goes, so that's going on. And then you've got this other guy from some hillbilly place who's playing like lap steel, which usually is a no-no for me. He's doing that. And then you've got me then trying to tie it all together with some kind of like melodic sort of make sense of it, and me doing my thing, riding over the top of it and sort of trying to come up with a middle eight for it. And then you got the main guy ad-libbing some shit that he's probably taken from some comedy movie or a cartoon that he's pulling out of the air. And this is all true. And I remember standing in the middle of that room and going, I don't know what the fuck this all adds up to. I know what the elements sound like, but I do not know what this is, which is unusual for me, but it feels really fucking good. And it feels like you did when you are 15, and you're not clever enough or contrived enough to go, oh, let's do one that sounds like this, and you just copy it. It was this, what the hell is this? And it's all the better for it. Sure. And I was like, that was probably the main reason to make me go, I'm fucking doing this. I'll phone the wife and say, these strangers, get used to it.
That's great.
Yeah.
In that time, over that 3 or 8 weeks of us rehearsing in that attic, everyone was downstairs for lunch, except for me and you and Jeremiah. And you were looping something, and we got everything. I think you were just looping the part.
Yeah.
And I was just keeping time while you were looping it, and everyone else, it was like break time, but we wanted to get that in our heads. So we were playing it. Jeremiah was sitting in that windowsill, smoking a cigarette, but also holding a tambourine, and just probably looking at his phone. So that was the 3 of us, right? And again, I'm just keeping time, and I'm just kind of meditating on your riff. But I had the weirdest thing happen where I was like, I was so lost, I said to myself in my brain, this guy's pretty good at guitar. What you were writing all came together, and I could hear all your notes. And then I was like, what? I snapped out of it,
Great.
And then I'd look, and then I was just watching you, and I was like, it was the moment I understood. It was like, wow. It was a real dumb way to come around to being like, man, I like playing with this guy. But it was like the stupidest way to do it. My brain was just Neanderthal, because being in that loop thing and not really thinking about anything else but your guitar riff. And I could have easily mouthed those words. That would have even sounded stupid.
No, there was so many moments like that. It was so inspired. When we were packing up to go to Mississippi, we had 18 songs on the board, which was unheard of for, well, most bands is unheard of. And we were in really good shape. It was very exciting. We were packing away the gear. The first thing I remember thinking about that was, I was like, do American bands not have roadies? and, and I found out that the answer is no, they don't. Only when they go on tour. You guys in your quirky punk rock ways, it's like, it's not selling out. I've been seeing how much equipment this band have. But where it really gets cool on that one is that the frontman, the singer, I don't think any singer in any band, particularly who've had a #1 record, gets in the U-Haul himself and drives it's got to have been 1,000 miles.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. But so people were packing the gear away. I was being slow, of course, packing mine. And I was watching the fellas and people were chatting. And I thought, okay, I'm going to tune into the vibe of the room. And because I was being lazy and waiting for someone to pack my gear up for me, I was still plugged into my guitar, my amp. And I started playing that riff that became the song People as Places. And we were done with the writing thing. But Isaac liked it so much. He was like, play that, play that. And literally we were done. And we had more songs than we needed. And we did that literally the day before we actually set off for Mississippi, and we were all done after this 6 weeks writing period. That's how inspired we were. Even while we were packing away, we were still writing.
Everybody is a deceiver. You're the misfit. coming fast to you.